Hey there, welcome to the channel. This is Cafinicus, and today's World of Warships video will feature a game in the Atago, the Tier 8 Premium IJN cruiser, one of the oldest premium ships in the game. This is a ranked game on the map Sleeping Giant. Our team spawns north, so I'm initially going to go for the B cap with our team, then use the D6, D7 location to fire out from. As always, let's start with the strengths and weaknesses of the Atago. The Atago has 10 203mm guns in 5 double turrets in the ABC-XY configuration. These guns are highly accurate, and the HE shells hit really hard with 3300 max damage and 17% chance to start fires. However, the range is on the lower end of the spectrum for Tier 8 203mm guns at only 15.8 kilometers. The reload is slow, with only 3.8 rounds per minute, and you need a couple of extra cave trolls to push the turrets into firing position. You do have great concealment of 9.3 kilometers surface detection with Captain skills, mods, and camo, which makes you one of the stealthiest cruisers around. Couple that with the 10-kilometer torpedo range and 16 total torpedo tubes, you can put out some nasty surprises on the enemy team. One thing to note as well, 2 of your torpedo launchers are located forward, so you don't have to expose your broadside to launch them like you do in most of the other IJN cruisers. The base HP on the Atago is okay at 40,100, but you do have access to the repair party consumable, so this helps increase the effective HP of the ship significantly. The Atago is really zippy at 35.5 knots base speed, which gets bumped up to over 37 knots with a speed flag and has a quick rudder shift. And finally, it is a premium ship, so you do get extra credits, and it serves really well as an IJN cruiser captain trainer. The downside, however, is that the armor profile isn't great, with 25mm end plating and an exposed citadel. Failing to time your turns to unmask your guns can lead to a quick trip back to port. The deck armor isn't bad though, at 41mm, which can withstand cruiser HE spam and even ricochet some larger shells. And of course, the A isn't great, so don't expect to hold off enemy carriers. And now let's get back to the game. I've gotten to my initial starting position with just a few scratches. Our Fletcher kindly lays a nice smoke screen, so I'm going to take advantage of it here. However, it is a tense moment as I know there are enemy ships at the G7H7 area, so I've got to get into the smoke screen without being detected, or I'll be in for a world of hurt. So here we go. Let's take a deep breath and push in. You can also see the great torpedo arcs here in a second, as I launch a couple of salvos against the Georgia that's pushing up. There's a forward launcher and a rear launcher on each side of the ship, and you can launch 8 torpedoes per side. Our Fletcher also spots the enemy Venom here, so to show my appreciation for his smokescreen, we hit that Venom with 8 out of 10 shells, and for about 6,000 damage, showing you how lethal the guns on the Atago can be. Our Baji friend also follows it up and takes out the enemy destroyer, which is a great start for our team. The enemy Georgia is pushing in aggressively though, and that's a problem as it means I have to get around the island to my left to kite away. My smoke firing range is just under 7 kilometers, so I've got time to launch maybe a couple of salvos his way before I get detected. We do get a couple of torpedo hits. Again, the stealthiness of the Atago can often lead to surprise torpedo hits, especially against enemy ships pushing into your position, which makes the Atago great at kiting. However, the Georgia is now in my smoke firing detector range, so I fire one more salvo, then start kiting. Even then though, I take a 7k damage salvo from the Georgia's guns right here. In return though, I light the Georgia on fire one more time, and our Fletcher's torpedoes come in and finish off that Georgia. So this is really a great start for us, and really good job by that Fletcher as well. So I'm going to push up here, and I'm going to start using the islands for cover as I start shooting at the enemy hipper. It is going to take me a moment to complete my turn, But in the meanwhile, there is one good thing about having lower range in the Atago, and that means that the Azuma and the Musashi ahead of me will not see me as I fire. So we launch another salvo here at the hipper, and we're going to keep pushing forward into a more effective position. As you can see, I can't actually hit the Musashi or the Azuma. But we do get a fire on that hipper though, so that's a nice bonus damage for us, even though he repairs it right away. We've completed our turn at this point, so we're going to follow our Fletcher into the fray. And of course, the great concealment of the Atago means that I'll actually spot the hipper before he spots me. And I'm actually thinking of launching some torpedoes into the gap there to see if I can actually catch the hipper as he pushes out. But the hipper gets spotted by our carrier, so we're going to start focusing on him once again. Our first salvo is out, and we land 6 out of 10 shells. The hipper gets chunked down really quickly under concentrated fire, and my second salvo is ready. So I shoot my second salvo, they look good, and the hipper disappears, but we do get our first kill. At this point in the game, it's starting to look like this will be a steamroll, so it's time to get as much damage done as we can. We fire at the Musashi here, and this is where you can see the incredible accuracy of the Atago's guns. I land 10 out of 10 shells at over 14 kilometers and even start a fire. The accuracy of the Atago's guns is just amazing and does help make up for her poor rate of fire, as you'll likely hit more of the shells that you actually shoot. We dodge the return fire, and now we're going to use this little island up ahead here to fire at the Musashi while completely invisible. Gonna try to get a couple of good salvos in here, and maybe get another fire on the Musashi. I am going to slow down a little bit here though, to make sure I keep the island between me and him. But that's another good salvo there, 8 out of 10 shell hits, 6 of which penetrated. And of course the Atago's guns being 203mm will be able to get through 32mm of battleship armor plating. And yet another good salvo, 10 out of 10 hits. I just can't say enough about how much I enjoyed the consistency and accuracy of the Atago's guns, and we even get another fire here on the Musashi. However, I do need to get moving as I am expecting the Azuma to clear the island ahead of me and spot me when I fire. Sure enough, the Azuma pops out, so we can't stealth fire from that position anymore. Usually, I'd shy away from pushing forwards in these kinds of positions, where you're chasing into enemy ships that will have shots at you from multiple angles. However, I think we've got this game in the bag, so I do push up and continue to focus fire on the Musashi. He's a huge threat to hit me with a devastating strike, so I watch his starts carefully while paying attention to my priority target indicator to see if the Azuma is switching his fire to me. I also check on my angle against the Azuma to make sure I don't present too much of a broadside to him as well. We continue to light fires on the Musashi and keep him burning merrily along, and I make sure that I keep track of his firing times as well, and I turn back in to dodge every time he shoots at me, just to make sure that I don't get taken out. So when playing the Atago against battleships in a, say, one-on-one situation or when he's focusing on you, you turn out to fire your guns while keeping slightly angled, and when they start to shoot back at you, you turn in to present as small of a target profile as you can, and then you can dodge quite a bit of the enemy shells. The Musashi is down to 1k health when our fires finally run out, but he's doomed anyway. So now we switch to the Azuma, and it looks like the Azuma was engaging our Bajie while we were roasting the Musashi. Our Bajie finally goes down just as we start the engagement against our Azuma though. My first salvo is out, and I do get really lucky here. I land 6 out of 10 hits and start a fire on the Azuma. Unfortunately, the Azuma does take out our rune, and now he's starting to turn his attention to me. My next salvo isn't so great. I think I give him a little bit too much lead as he's actually slowing down, and his return fire takes out one of my forward turrets. I try to adjust my aim to account for the slower speed, and that's when the Azuma really surprises me because he's starting to shoot AP at me. And this is really dangerous because the Azuma's reload speed isn't much worse than mine, and so I've got to be very careful about masking my full broadside now, as he can take me out with those really hard-hitting 310mm AP shells. So what I do is I try to bait him into firing. I shoot my front guns, and I angle a little bit to the left to see if he will shoot at me, and I immediately turn back in to see if I can bounce as many of those shells off my belt armor. Seeing that he's fired, I immediately turn back out and launch my full salvo to see if we can maybe get a fire on him, and I do get a fire here with 6 shell hits. But his return fire again does catch me with quite a little bit of damage. I take a shot at the frontal part of his superstructure to see if I can get another fire, but no luck, and he's down to 6k HP, and our team takes out the enemy Lexington to finish the game. So let's take a look at the post-game results. We did just over 160,000 damage for our high caliber and Witherer achievements, which was decent in a ranked game. Our base XP was 2,232, which was top of our team. Well played to the Azuma, who had 1,458 XP on a loss, and also to our Fletcher, who played his role really well. We hit 5 enemy ships and sank 1. Our main battery performance was really good, 134 out of 228 shell hits for a 59% hit rate. We also landed 2 torpedoes on the Georgia and had 10 fires causing over 63,000 damage. And finally, as a premium ship, we get loads of credits and experience, especially since we tossed in a bunch of special flags. For anyone interested, here are the equipment and captain skills I use for this ship. Main armaments mod 1, damage control mod 1, though I think engine room protection would be a better mod here, as the Atago does lose engine and steering quite a lot in my opinion. And we round it out with aiming systems, steering gears, and concealment modification. For captain skills, I have grease the gears, gun feeder, pyrotechnician, priority target, superintendent, adrenaline rush, and concealment expertise. I'm not quite sure what to do with the 4 extra points right now. Most likely pick up last stand, and then outnumbered when I hit 21 captain skills. So, the Atago. I really like this ship. It has withstood the test of time really well in my opinion, and I feel it's still relevant in the current game. It can hold its own in most situations, other than maybe heavy carrier focus. But if a carrier wants to strike someone, they're going to do it anyway in most instances. The guns are solid, the concealment is great, and you can even be a pseudo-destroyer in some cases to stealth torp enemy ships or take caps. It's also an excellent IJN cruiser captain trainer, as the IJN cruiser line from tier 5 on up has the same playstyle and captain skills, with the exception of maybe the 155 Mogami. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Please feel free to hit the like button or subscribe to the channel if you're so inclined. And please join me again next week for more World of Warships videos. Thank you for watching and take care.